This is Indifferently Depraved Book Club.
I want to be clear that that's spelled with an L-Y.
L-Y.
Not an A-L-L-Y.
No.
We had a very helpful fan out there on Twitter. Not only did she point it out to us, but she retweeted it so that, you know, if we missed it, her followers could let us know that we misspelled our own name. It was really thoughtful.
Whoops.
So.
But we forgot our own name in episode 1.
We did.
So just misspelling it.
We did. And, you know,
an improvement.
I used to win spelling bees, and I was really mad at myself because I think I actually I was high as fuck. I was probably drunk. And I was just.
At a spelling bee?
No. I wish. I fucking wish. I wish a bitch would. No. When I was setting up social media, I always like getting these frenzies, and I'm just like on the weekend drunk doing things.
Oh, that's how you misspelled it?
Yeah, I actually went back and changed it. I was like, shit, I fucked that up. I have this distinct memory of going back and being like, there, I took care of that. But I spelled it correctly everywhere else. But we caught it on Twitter before a bunch of people saw it, and that is very cool. Episode 3.
Episode 3.
We had a great, we just had our first week up on social media and published, and we had such a lovely response, and I just really want to thank anyone that listened to episode 1.
I know, it's so awesome.
And that's here by episode 3 still. So at this point,
if anyone fits into that category, if you're still listening.
If there's a Venn diagram overlap for that. So this week, Carla, do you want to introduce this week's selection?
It's Silence of the Lambs. It almost needs no introduction.
This book made me a woman.
Made you a woman.
Yeah, this is like my coming of age story. I was obsessed with this book, this
yeah.
movie when it came out. I think I was 10 when I read it and saw the film, and it just really made a mark on me. I think I was 12 when the film came out.
It had a similar impact on me, but in a less sexy way.
Well, it's not necessarily sexual. I just mean, I don't know, it was an adult book.
See, that's how I feel about the film adaptation. I saw that way before I read it. I feel like it was the first grown-up kind of real movie that I ever saw.
Very gritty.
Yeah.
I don't know. My family exposed me to a lot of weird things. My auntie showed me and Ruby A Clockwork Orange when we were in elementary school.
Wow.
No wonder we are the way we are.
Yeah, that explains a lot.
And I'm not complaining at all. You know, I think a lot of people, my mom was one of those that liked to edit what we watched. You know, I remember when we'd get away with watching some kind of horror movie for a while, but if titties came out, that's when you had to turn it off. But not when someone got sliced in half with a machete. Well, I
accidentally played a horror movie with titties in it and rape at a preacher's house.
How'd that go?
It wasn't well received. I played dumb and got away with it, though.
You had no idea.
I didn't know it was in there. It was Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Oh, that's such a good one.
It's a Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie. We watch all that stuff. Black Christmas. That's our holiday tradition. I'm upset with myself. The last 2 Thanksgivings, I've forgotten and not been able to find my Thanksgiving shirt to wear. Thanksgiving.
But, you know, Silence of the Lambs.
So back to Silence of the Lambs. We went all the way through holiday horror films, and we're back to this one. So this is the 3rd book that Thomas Harris wrote, correct? First it was Black Sunday, Red Dragon, and then Silence of the Lambs.
I haven't read any of his other books. I've only ever read Silence of the Lambs.
Okay, you should read. I've read all of them except Black Sunday, which it's an espionage sort of. Something about a terrorist attack planned on the Super Bowl.
So Black Sunday's the Super Bowl?
I guess so.
Hey, I like that.
Super Bowls, right? They have them on Sunday.
Right, it is on Sunday. I won't be getting your recipe for 7-layer dip then.
I have actually, that is my go-to recipe for potlucks. I make an incredible 7-layer dip.
We're learning things about you every day.
It's a cold dip. I'm sure you could still do it warm, sort of. It would just be messier.
No lettuce.
No lettuce.
No warm lettuce.
No, there's no lettuce in that recipe. So anyways, Thomas Harris. So yes, his 3rd book, but you've never read, that means you've never read God.
No. No.
Ass. Sorry. So that means you've never read Red Dragon.
That's right.
We have studio audience with us today, and they're over in the corner laughing at us right now. Everybody say hi to Jim E. Toledo.
He's back.
Jim's back. He's back for more. Someone who told us up front, I don't like true crime. I'm not into this. He's back.
Yeah. Well, this is fake crime. We're gonna tie some true crime inspiration into it, though.
That's another thing. This is our first. This is not a straightforward true crime book.
You know, I kind of think there's an evolution to it, and we can just go ahead and pretend that we did it on purpose.
Exactly. Yes.
Because the first episode, Catherine Ramsland refers to that as like a guided autobiography. So it's very true crime, like 0 Degrees of Separation. BTK himself writes it.
Scholarly, accessible scholarly,
Yeah.
but it's a pop psychology book.
Then you have Green River, which we do in episode 2, which is kind of a little bit more removed. It's the detective's son, and it's in a fictionalized format.
And it's a beautiful graphic novel. It's like In Cold Blood, which set up this entire sort of true crime thing, but it's a fictionalized account of a nonfiction event.
And now we have completely fictional serial killer.
So if you're not familiar, if you're just listening out there because you love us and you're not familiar with this book, it was published in 1989, and it is about the dynamic between a female Quantico FBI trainee, a cannibalistic doctor.
Yeah, I think everybody is familiar with it, at least from the film.
Or from the Hannibal series.
Yeah.
That's very popular.
Everybody likes Hannibal.
So that's really where the toehold for the Utes comes in, is Hannibal, which was very good. I watched some of the first series, is good. But I think when works of art like set a standard, set a level, the kind of, people just don't understand how fucking amazing this book was when it came out. It's really up there for the genre. And I think there's a lot of really good writers in the genre, so that's saying a lot.
I think he's lyrically a good writer, even that aside.
Lyrically, yes.
Yeah.
That's a good word for it.
That's how I would describe his writing style. And I like the juxtaposition of it with the really grisly subject matter. He's very good at writing a beautiful scene. He's very good at writing a disturbing scene that sticks in your brain, makes you think about it. Quotes that you can remember.
And he does it, I guess it's that lyrical format, that lyrical style. You don't feel icky or voyeuristic in it. You feel really united with him as a writer, like this whole idea of humanity and serial killers. The third part of that triad that we were discussing, because we went straight from Hannibal, is the unknown serial killer, Buffalo Bill.
Right.
Who is... his sixth victim is found when Clarice is on the case.
Yeah.
And that's
right when she joins it.
And then he already had Catherine Martin, correct, at that point when she did the autopsy in West Virginia. Another reason this book struck such a chord with me is because the character did grow up I know that they did Clay County, West Virginia as one of the body found sites. Mm-hmm. I think in the book he makes a reference to West Virginia in her accent, and I can't remember if she's supposed to be actually from Virginia, West Virginia, or something in her youth. When her father died, she went to Montana. But anyways, these West Virginia references really just did it for me.
Yeah, she's from West Virginia. One of the bodies is found in West Virginia. She talks about her familiarity with the good old boy kind of scene and stuff, where she grew up in that kind of environment before joining the FBI.
And knows how to manipulate it.
Yeah.
How that she has to, when she feels uncomfortable in front of the state police or whoever that are at the funeral home in West Virginia, she feels deeply uncomfortable when Jack Crawford, sort of like Robert Ressler, who was the actual FBI agent that wrote, what is it called? If You Seek Monsters.
Oh, right.
And it's one of those sort of landmark books for true crime fans. But anyway, so he manipulates the whole female.
He talks down to her in front of them to win brownie points of being like, oh, she's just here to carry my camera and take notes.
But we can't talk about these sex crime things in front of her. Let's go in the other room and give me the information. And he just doesn't, you know, he doesn't believe what he's saying. And that burns her ass. And then she has to of course, that's how she leverages it as well. It's like, fine, this is the jack handle I can make things happen in this room with, because if I try to act like, you have to respect me, they won't. So she gets them out of the room by putting on a thick West Virginia accent and talking like a hick and saying, oh, thank you so much. And I know her family would thank you if they could. And they all just become mesmerized and they leave finally, which is what she wanted to happen. So fuck them.
Well, nobody wants to be in the room with a floater anyway.
The infamous Vicks under the nose scene. And I like how everybody smears it on and then they open the body bag and everyone recoils. You would smell that when you walked in the room.
Oh, yeah.
It makes you laugh every time. But it's such a dramatic, beautiful scene.
Bodies are often disposed of in the water.
I like that it's not like a sexualized female corpse that you get so often. She's just a human being and you're not sexualizing it, which grosses me out a lot. These beautiful female corpses, and they just look, I don't know, like a sex doll laying there.
Well, it's not what you would look like after a long time in the water.
Yes. Sitting there watching that scene thinking just, oh, I love it. I love whoever did the makeup for this. I should have looked them up so I could say I love their name. But the broken nails and the mottled skin and like the fat exposed in the back when the darts are cut out.
Yeah.
Because, of course, Buffalo Bill is making a woman's suit.
He's working on his suit.
So this is a mishmash. This character of Hannibal Lecter and the character of Buffalo Bill. And they are based on a lot of the heavy hitters. So who do we have here?
Thomas Harris said recently, in 2013, I believe, Hannibal Lecter was based off of a real-life dentist, Alfredo Trevino. He became jealous, thought his boyfriend had a lover, killed him, chopped him up to get rid of the body initially, but he also ate some of him.
Now, that's kind of funny because that's where the food thing, the whole cannibalism comes in. But that whole setup sounds like the whole Benjamin Raspail setup in the book, that Buffalo Bill, he kills him because he had a lover named Claus, and I guess Claus was fooling around with Benjamin Raspail, and that's why Buffalo Bill killed Raspail. Or no, was it? Wait. No, what happened in it? It's Dr. Lecter kills...
Yeah, Dr. Lecter kills Benjamin Raspail. It's one of his patients.
Okay.
But Buffalo Bill had killed Claus, the boyfriend, even though Raspail claimed responsibility for it. He didn't really do it. Benjamin Raspail kind of like wanted to look like he was really crazy. He would hang around with dangerous people like Buffalo Bill, one of those kind of personalities. And I guess Hannibal Lecter was like, oh, you're fake. I'm going to eat you.
Oh, I love Dr. Lecter.
I do too. He's such a great character. Really, the movie's so good. There's some great lines in there with Thomas Harris's writing. Like we were saying, where he writes in a lyrical style. Sometimes you really need his actual words. However, it is a really great film adaptation. I can't knock it at all. It gets a lot of the major parts in there. A lot of it's piece by piece taken from the book. But you always got to leave a few things out.
Yeah, Jonathan Demme won Best Picture, didn't he? And Jodie Foster won Best Actress, I believe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she did.
I agree. It's fabulous. There's nothing about it that I would change. Everybody in it's fucking amazing. The actor that plays Buffalo Bill is fantastic. You can also see him in the remake of The Hills Have Eyes.
He's really good at being really scary. Buffalo Bill, like we were saying, Hannibal Lecter, based on this dentist. I don't know that Thomas Harris ever really admitted that Buffalo Bill is based on anyone or suggested that, but you can certainly draw comparisons with existing serial killers.
I don't know if he's actually said it or not now. He's notorious for not giving interviews. He's very reclusive, so we don't get a lot of insight into his writing, but it's very clear that certain elements of his style, starting with Ted Bundy, he does the whole cast, and there he is wearing a cast.
Ted Bundy in real life would pretend to be disabled or injured to seem less threatening to his victims.
He had like plaster, alginate, or whatever. He had stuff in his home to go ahead and wrap himself up and make a cast anytime he felt like it.
Crutches, casts.
You see this in the film, and you're like, it's fucking ridiculous. he's wearing a cast in the middle of the night in a parking lot with the back of his van open, trying to shove a couch into it. Who would think that that's legit at all? Like, why are you trying to shove a fucking couch into a van in the middle of the night in a parking lot? Like, who are you here for? Why aren't they helping you? But she offers to help him, and this, you think that's fucking stupid, but Ted Bundy would do the same shit. There he is, like, with a fucking cast on, saying, can you help me get my sailboat?
And it worked.
Yeah, twice in one day.
Yeah.
He went back to the lake and got another victim. It's fucking, there's an amazing book that everybody should read. It's called The Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBecker, and it talks about, there's an eloquent way to express this, but basically it's like that people should listen to their lizard brain, that it knows more than you give it credit for. That when you have a gut feeling or an intuition, that you're not just making it up, that your body is responding on a level that's not up here in your brain.
Evolution.
Yes.
When you were an actual prey animal.
Because
You still have some of those instincts.
well, we still give them off. We pick them up in
Yeah.
other people. And you know when a situation is fucking fucked up. So if you don't feel okay about it, people like this are using social conventions against you.
And compliance bias.
You shouldn't feel guilty or bad about saying, no, I'm not going to help you.
I think women especially are socialized to be agreeable. Men too, though, have a high degree of the compliance bias factor. It's like you will go along with someone. Ted Bundy also would pretend to be a cop or other authority figures sometimes. And even if you can tell this guy's being a weirdo, you're socialized to not make a fuss. And people who are predators know that about humans and ladies, and they take advantage of it.
And that's easier for them, especially if they lean more towards like a cluster B, sociopath, psychopath personality, because they don't have those feelings. They don't feel guilty, or don't feel guilt. They don't feel shame. So lying, using people, taking advantage of you, it doesn't matter to them, and it's easy. Something that I think we would have trouble performing. I'm never comfortable when I'm trying to do anything sneaky. Very clearly uncomfortable. So I would not get by with it.
Yeah, there are many accounts of real-life serial killers. Jeffrey Dahmer, for example, getting pulled over when he killed the first kid that he picked up. He had him in a garbage bag in the back seat.
In his trunk, yeah. Oh, in the back seat, yeah.
Yeah, and just said, "Oh, I'm going to the dump. I can't sleep. My parents got divorced." To be able to stay that cool while you have a body in your car and you're talking to a policeman. Police talk all the time about how they can tell when people are guilty by speaking to them because we act shady even though we think we don't.
It's impossible. It's impossible.
Yeah, unless you're a sociopath, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Or, the police, when they brought the 14-year-old boy back to him that we mentioned in an earlier episode.
Yes.
He had corpses in his apartment.
At the time, if they had just gone in, but they were just like, yeah, but that's a whole, racism, and also anti-gay.
He just acted cool. Cool under pressure.
Cool under pressure.
The sociopath way.
Who else?
Gary Heidnik's the big one.
Gary Heidnik is the big one. It's significant to me that Gary Heidnik was active 87 to 88. And he's kind of one of the heavy hitters, but if you're not really into true crime, you're not going to have heard his name like you have Dahmer or Gacy.
He didn't kill a bunch of people. So, that kind of diminishes the attention.
Yes, he only killed 2. How many did he murder?
He killed 2. One was accidental. Well, if you can call trapping 5 women in your basement, not really giving them much food, keeping them prisoner, accidental.
Raping them, beating them, shocking them. He's a very nasty man, and he's the big one because he's the one that had the pit.
Right. That appears in the movie.
Oh my God, the set is amazing. That fucking house is amazing. The exteriors for that house were shot in West Virginia. That's a house that was actually on the market a couple years ago. I would have bought it for sure, but the interiors completely a set, and they're fucking gorgeous. The little oubliette with all the little rooms, and those are some of the juicy details that you get in the book. You get more Buffalo Bill in the book.
Yes.
That perspective, that background, the voice that you're missing from the book, or from the film. You see in one of the rooms when Clarice is going around with the lights on, and then the lights flip off. You see a hand with like maybe a watch on it, and that's the woman that owned the house, and that's how he got the house. Was
Right.
He killed old Mrs. Lippman.
Killed her, kept the house.
And she's just literally still down there, just sitting in a bathtub, all rotten. Doesn't that give you the fucking heebie-jeebies? To think of some freak in Ohio, and that's funny because Ariel Castro was from Ohio.
Yeah. Ariel Castro, similar kind of guy.
Ooh, so gross.
Except he kept those women for years.
Yes. Nearly 2 decades, right? 17, 18
Gary,
years.
yeah. He collected them one at a time, just like Gary Heidnik did.
Yes.
So he had some for longer. Ariel Castro. What's the Cleveland abduction? Is that what the
I don't remember what they call the Cleveland something.
the movie was called?
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah. It was pretty good. It was just on Lifetime or something, but it was a good movie.
I'll fucking watch it.
And
But he did the sort of the same thing. He pitted them against each other.
The imprisoners are an interesting class of people. You said people who imprison
Yes.
their victims.
People that hold hostages, sex slaves, try to brainwash people, and
Yeah. The first one.
he sucks.
But the first one really brainwashed him in the end. So that's a good story of revenge. He, over just like 2 months, he captured 5 women.
The first one was Josefina Rivera, and she's the one that helped him abduct the last girl. And the very next day, he took her, I guess, as a reward. Wasn't that how
Right.
it
She
worked?
tricked him. Yeah.
As
She
her-
said, I'll help you do this. You let me go call my family and tell them I'm okay.
And he took her to a gas station, and she just walked around the corner and called 911.
Yep.
Wait, I thought that she went home, like walked into her family's home or something. I
No,
don't
she
know.
called the police. Yeah, she called the police, and they came and they saw that she had all the bruises and like the rope burns and stuff, so they believed her outlandish story.
I'm sure she looked like hell.
Because that was, let's see, in March is when they went out to get the last one.
And it was
So
November.
he
when
had
took
kept
her.
them. Yeah, that's a long time
That's
to be
5
in captivity.
months. And then you think about the Castro abductees.
Years.
Years.
And I mean, he fathered children with them.
Oh. Him killing himself in prison was awesome. Saved everybody the
Good.
fucking spectacle.
Good.
Good. I don't have to see pictures of you in court, video of you in court being a fucking shit ass. Fuck you.
Left alone with thinking about what you did to those people.
That wasn't what did it. The fact that he couldn't do that to those people anymore was what did it. He couldn't live life.
Well, he was one of them now.
Oh, I hate him.
He couldn't handle the life that he had imposed on these people.
Oh, poor baby.
Well, actually, he was much worse to them than they treat people in prison.
Yeah.
He would leave them tied up to the ceiling for hours at a time. He's
He
a
filled-
horrible man.
He filled their pit with water and then shocked their chains with a stripped wire.
Yes, that's how he killed one of the
It's
5.
too bad he didn't fucking electrocute himself. Dumbass.
Too bad.
Too bad.
But
But he's-
he was executed.
But fucking lucky he didn't set the fucking house on fire and burn it down with everybody inside. Dickhead. Ugh. Yeah.
So the pit aspect comes from him, most likely.
Yeah. I do detest the ones that keep people and torture them for months and years. When they're rescued, it's wonderful. But if I'm going to die, please just fucking drag me off the jogging path and kill me. Like, I don't want to, if I'm going to die in the end anyways, I don't want to spend my last months and years with you.
Or even if you survive,
Fuck that.
like Elizabeth Smart.
Holy shit. How does she have her shit together so good?
It's either denial or really good therapy, I guess.
The only way out is through.
Well, she's a Mormon.
That might help.
Yeah, I think she can chuck a lot of it over to Jesus.
It's harder for us atheists, I guess. It shouldn't be, though, because we should, as atheists, we should all kind of understand going in that it's all just chaos. And that's just something that can happen.
I don't think it would help.
No, it doesn't help. Nothing ever helps. Everything sucks when it happens to you. The skinning thing. Who else is the heavy hitter? One of the heaviest hitters. Even though there's been a lot of people, I guess, that have skinned and kept artifacts.
Yeah.
But good old Ed Gein.
Ed Gein, everybody loves him.
Nipple belt.
Of course, Psycho,
Yes.
the more well-known pop culture reference to Ed Gein.
To Ed Gein.
And more direct as well. But yeah, the elements of taking their skins. But I've also heard people tie in Jerry Brudos with the actual transsexual obsession with women, fetishism.
Brudos he's transvestite. Is he just, isn't
Yeah.
that his thing?
Yeah.
Well, that we know of. I want to recommend, if people want to kind of look into this, there's a interesting article I thought on this called My Auntie Bill by Jose Truitt. And it's about the whole transsexual, and it kind of goes into the different, like, the subtyping and things like that were popular in the 80s. So where that psychology of the character is coming from. It's interesting because it posits that, honestly, Bill probably was transsexual, and medical gatekeeping kept Bill from...
I don't really think Buffalo Bill is trans.
I don't know.
I think he's more of a Dennis Rader, looking for something that satisfies him.
Well, that's the whole thing of the book. That's, Hannibal Lecter, who's supposed to be like the brilliant one in it, and he's giving Clarice this whole profile and everything. Of course, he has the answer already, so he's not inventing anything. He knows what to say because he knows the inside story. The important clue that he gave her that Bill would have applied for and been rejected from the three major centers for reassignment surgery. And the other big one was, doesn't this scattering of random things seem desperately random? That was the big thing that he gave her. The location, So she happened to be in Belvedere, Ohio, and find Bill.
I think it's a manifestation of something else that was wrong with him. I guess that's my viewpoint. Is this the source of my unhappiness? Because the violence is directly tied to it. So I sort of think it's like, Jerry Brudos strangling people to get shoes. Buffalo Bill killing women to get breasts because he thinks he needs them. I don't think that makes him transgender necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Like Ed Gein was making women's suits to dress up in.
We still don't know what that's about.
To be his mom.
And Bill had his mother. What was his relationship with his mother?
I know he killed his grandparents.
There's a scene in the book where he's watching videos of what he thinks is his mother. Remember, like he rented a VCR when he was in a hotel watching like the porn channel because he thought that those were images of his mother. There was one that was really her. She was in a beauty pageant. Remember? She died, didn't she? Or she just ran off and left him. She abandoned him.
Ed Kemper is one of the ones people throw in there to compare him to because he was left with his grandparents and killed them.
So Bill does kill.
And his mom, she was really dumb and had him really young and misspelled his name. That's in the book.
I thought that was like a hospital typo. Like the hospital.
I believe in the book, Lecter says she did it, but who knows if he's telling the truth.
Is that all the killers that he's based on? Bundy, Gein, Kemper, Brudos.
Then Heidnik, of course.
Heidnik. Okay, yeah, we hit them all. There's sequels with the Hannibal character. Carl's not read any of them. I've read all of his books with Black Sunday.
Nope.
I like Hannibal. The villain in that's goofy, though, so whatever. Hannibal Rising is about the origin story for Hannibal. I read that the only reason he wrote it was because Dina De Laurentiis said, if you don't write this story, this origin story, I'm going to have somebody else do it because this franchise is hot and we're going to make a movie. So he was like, oh, let me get back to you. So I had to go and kind of get one up for Hannibal. So I would like to hear your opinion on that. It's not what I expected at all. Red Dragon, you've seen the film, right?
Yes.
In the first one, which was Manhunter, the first film.
I love Manhunter.
The book's fantastic.
We build websites. We build websites. Real good websites.
Cucumber and Company will build, host, and update your site for one low monthly rate, dude. And I ain't just blowing smoke. In Beckley at 304-250-0123 or cucumberandcompany.com.
This is a fun fact about Heidnik. He started his own church.
Yes, he did, and he was very successful at it.
He had like a lot of money.
Yeah. He started with 5 members, and he eventually had like $500,000 in his church bank account.
$500,000 in the 80s. What the fuck? And then, he's so gross.
He's really gross. He imported a wife from the Philippines.
So gross. And like,
allegedly made her watch him have sex with other people, which freaked her out.
yeah, and raped her. And she was with him very briefly, but she was already pregnant when she left.
He showed signs of being really terrible and scary before that. His girlfriend had a sister who was developmentally
Well,
disabled.
they both were, I think. But her sister was hospitalized, institutionalized.
And he checked her out for a day visit. And when he returned her, she'd been raped and sodomized and abused.
And she tested positive for gonorrhea. So he impregnated the girl. So Anjanette, that's her name, Anjanette. Yeah, Anjanette Davidson. So he impregnated her, another woman, and his wife. So he had 3 children. Some of them were fostered out, I believe. But actually, when he was arrested and sentenced, he was sentenced in 89, and he was executed in 99. But Anjanette and her daughter, Maxine Davidson, or was it the sister's daughter? One of them. But they were trying to have an injunction or whatever and say that Heidnik wasn't mentally competent and, to commute his sentence down from death. And they were just like, no. Was he cannibalistic too? I remember there were allegations of him cooking. I don't know if he actually ate it or not.
He was alleged to have actually fed the first one he accidentally killed, fed her to the other 4 women he had imprisoned.
And supposedly
he boiled her head. People complained of the smell.
And baked her rib cage.
And when the police came, he told them he'd burned a roast.
Then his defense attorney, I thought, said that he just invented the cannibalism for his trial to make him seem more insane.
I think so, too. They did find parts of her body in his freezer, marked as dog food.
Dog food. Her arms and legs.
But they didn't really find any evidence that a human carcass had been processed, like he described, like ground up. They would have found trace evidence in the kitchen or on the appliances, and they never found anything to suggest that he had actually eaten her or fed her to anyone.
But he disposed of her body somehow. I don't know if they found bone remains or not.
Boil her, bake her, stick her in a stew.
The other victim that he killed, he dumped her in the Pine Barrens. So just completely different modes of disposal. Another thing that's significant about Heidnik is that he was white and all of his victims were black. So that's like another case. You always hear serial killers kill within their own race.
Right, that is one of the stereotypes or generalizations that exist.
We see in 2 heavy hitters in Dahmer and Heidnik. These are people that go outside of theirs, and it seems like it's purposeful in these cases because they just knew that it would be easier to get away with killing that population. I was talking about this with one of my friends, and they were like, my whole thing about Jeffrey Dahmer is it's, anti-homosexual feelings and, basically racism that he got away with it. And they were like, oh, I don't know about that. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, there's no way. If Ted Bundy had a co-ed all bloodied up and naked running down the street and a policeman ran into her and Ted Bundy walks up and says, oh, that's my girlfriend. We just had a fight. I'm just going to take her home. Would the cop let her go?
Well, he is Ted Bundy, so maybe.
I just don't think that would have worked.
But no, I 100% agree with your point.
How did Heidnik trap the people that he trapped?
Well, he got the first victim. He just snatched them.
Were they out waiting for the bus, or I can't remember his kidnap style.
I know you were talking about Gary Heidnik trying to prove he was insane. Jerry Brudos, he's another one who fought his convictions up until the end. He very infamously wrote an appeal saying that a picture of him with one of the victims dead is not definitive proof that he killed her.
Well, he's got a point. It's circumstantial. Nice try, Jerry.
And they eventually just told him point blank in the parole hearing. The judge was like, "You are never getting out of prison." He was arrested when he was super young and just appealed forever and ever and ever. And I guess he's kind of an example of what I'm talking about with Buffalo Bill. Like, not exactly transgender. It's more a manifestation of what they feel inside themselves. Like, he would make more of a collector of women's body parts, like wanting to possess those. Like, he would make molds of the victim's breasts and things like that. He was a big photograph guy, like the one I referred to in the appeal. They found so many photos of him with the victim's body parts, dressed up in their clothes, dressing them up in clothes that he had.
And he easily got them by telling them that he was, if they wanted to take modeling pictures and flatter them that way. You know, if you're a young girl who's not going to be like, "Oh, you're a photographer, you know, you want to take pictures of me. Yes, let's do that." And before you know it, you're in a very bad situation. So that's another example of people exploiting other people's just assumption of benevolence. Why would somebody want to do me harm?
He would prey on people who were already in vulnerable situations. Like, I know he picked up a woman whose car was broken down and was like, "Oh, you can use the phone at my house." That's how he got one of them in there.
Yeah.
So many freaks. At least Buffalo Bill's fake. There are so many real ones who are just as scary. Scarier.
Clarice doesn't really get much of a sex life in the book. She doesn't get any at all in the film, but in the book she hooks up with the bug guy from the Smithsonian.
Who doesn't love a good nerd?
I know.
That's a great scene that's in the book. Like how we're talking about. Yes, the movie's great. Still worth reading the book, though, for his
so
writing
nice.
style. When
So nice.
the etymologist is talking to her about the moth that lives off of the tears of other animals.
And the descriptions of the moths, their little proboscis, like piercing the wax cap to drink nectar out of a flower.
If you like the movie, so worth it to read the book. You really need to. So much more insight into everybody, especially Buffalo Bill, who is very many people's favorite part of the movie. Everybody loves Buffalo Bill. He's very scary.
But Hannibal's scary too, because that's the B plot line, is how Hannibal busts out of jail, and he's a very exhibitive, artistic person. So, you know, you've seen it in the film already, the big gory scene.
There's a bit of a parallel to Ted Bundy and him as well. Just like constantly focused on how can I get out and kill more people.
Yes,
He has that same drive.
Bundy escaped.
Twice.
Yes, he accomplished it by sheer force of will. He starved himself down till he could fit through that vent shaft. Crawled right over to the warden's apartment.
And when you think about the compulsion that you have to feel within yourself to not eat for that many days, oh my God, that's insane to even think about. He's so driven to kill this man. He stops eating food until he'll fit through the vent. Like you were talking about killers converting to Christianity in prison or pretending that they're different, at least if they're not actually different. Ted Bundy starving himself to squeeze through a vent to kill someone.
Well, the warden wasn't there. He and his family were out, and Bundy changed into his clothes and just walked right off the grounds. And that's when he was skipped off of Florida. He was away for 3 months? It was a long time before they caught him.
Yeah, one time it was like 1 week, and then another time it was several months.
The first time for the week was he hid in someone's cabin up in the mountains until he was like, "Ugh, I'm hungry, and I can't get off this fucking mountain." He's such a fucking animal. They fucking fried him, buddy.
You have to.
And yeah, you just have to. There's no point.
You just have to.
He's got to.
If you like ask me at a voting booth, are you for capital punishment? No. But is there any other way to stop the Ted Bundys of the world? Also no. I just don't have that much faith in the judicial system to only try to kill Ted Bundys. I guess that's the best way to say it.
That's why I'm like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
You fuckers, I can't trust you with shit.
It's more in the that part of it than I don't believe any killers deserve to die for what they've done.
Countries like Norway and Sweden that have like very short maximum sentences that they very rarely commit people for life. That blows my mind. But there's someone over there that committed a terroristic act, didn't they? Someone that shot a bunch of people and
Killed like 77 people.
something like that.
Yeah, mass murderer in Finland. I believe it. Finland.
I think there's a film about it that just came out. I can't remember shit about it.
But no. I think more that system is in place to prevent long, like punitive concurrent sentences. Like if you're sentenced for 5 different crimes, they can't add up 5 petty crimes and keep you in jail for 35 years.
Yes.
Very Les Miserables type stuff.
Heidnik died by lethal injection. And remember, I think it was like a year ago, they had that big flurry of trying to push a bunch of executions through because what they used to commit lethal injection was getting ready to expire. And there are companies that just won't sell it to them anymore because of special interest groups putting so much pressure on them.
I think a death sentence was punitive in the case of Gary Heidnik. I know that's not going to be a popular opinion.
He's got to go.
Nah, he only killed 2 ladies. He was real sick. He had a history of psychological problems.
No, he did.
They shouldn't have killed him. I do not agree with that execution.
He was in and out of mental hospitals his entire life, basically. He had a history of 13 suicide attempts. He wasn't insane. He was culpable for what he did, but he wasn't healthy.
I don't believe every person who's responsible for what they did deserves to be executed.
I pretty much don't believe in the death penalty. Even Bundy, I'm just like, eh. I mean, yeah.
Nah, they had to kill him. He would have just kept getting out.
He's terrible. What are they going to fucking do with him?
It'll be like Magneto in X-Men where they have to keep him in a glass cube in isolation.
Yeah, because
that's the only thing to do with him. If you give him anything, if you give him a scrap of metal, he's going to get out.
He's going to get out. Which is ultimately what happens with Hannibal. Someone leaves a pen and he takes the pen apart. He can get out of his handcuffs with it, which is fucking crazy. I can't pick a lock for shit.
No, I can't break into my own apartment if I lock myself out.
Like, even sliding a credit card between the door jamb and the fucking lock mechanism, can't do it.
No. But Hannibal Lecter's way smarter than we are.
That's what's so appealing about him, is that he is just skilled. He's that dude. And that's why Clarice falls for him so hard. If you've seen the film Hannibal, the book has a completely different ending that does basically have Clarice running away with Hannibal. And they live together in a sexual relationship.
It's always the bad boys.
Exactly.
And who's badder?
You've got to read it. It's got all this weird shit. He gives her psychotropic drugs, and it's basically he brainwashes her. So it's kind of a disappointing ending for me, for Clarice as a character. For her to be reduced to being some brainwashed sex slave of a cannibalistic maniac is really depressing. Spoilers for everybody out there. It didn't sit well with me for a long time when I first read it. And what bummed me out the most is, like, because she runs off with Hannibal, she's no longer BFFs with Ardelia Mapp, who is like one of my other favorite characters in the book. That's Clarice's BFF in college. What's your favorite part?
My favorite part? It's just got to be where the song's playing and Buffalo Bill's getting ready and it keeps showing down to the basement.
Of the film?
Yeah.
I meant of the book, since the book's what we're reviewing.
Favorite part of the book?
Yeah, everybody loves Goodbye Horses. That's why it's, like, emulated so much.
Everybody loves it. I would say it's easier to pick out creepy parts of the book or good lines from the book. I saw the movie probably 15 years before I read the book.
Oh, okay.
So I already had all these images in place and all these characters are already defined in my brain.
I saw the film before I read the book, but I read the book very close to when I saw the film. But it's just so iconic that was the same for me. I had Clarice very clearly in mind already, and Hannibal Lecter very clearly in mind.
The book is still definitely worth reading. The differences are subtle, but they're important. It's such a well-written book.
I love the autopsy scene. I remember when I was young, I read that over and over again. Anything from Catherine's perspective.
And Jack Crawford's relationship with his wife is like totally left out of the film.
Oh, so fantastic. Yes.
That's one of the parts unique to the book that's really good.
You get such a clearer picture of Jack Crawford as opposed to just a suit. Walk around looking all prissy all the time. Clarice.
That's a good impression.
Thank you. Using this little morsel as bait for Hannibal Lecter knowing, exactly what's going to happen. Wouldn't that make you feel like an asshole if someone did that to you? She didn't figure it out. She didn't realize there's no way this is legit and I'm being set up. She really was super naive going into that.
I think there are hints that Clarice, like you were saying with that scene with all the police officers in West Virginia, like there are hints that, well, if this is how I have to play it, this is how I'll play it. I think it's quite possible she didn't know at first and it occurred to her. And she was like, well, whatever I can use to get access works for me.
No, there's a moment where she figures it out.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly where, but she really does feel very, I got plucked out of the training class to do this little errand. I feel special.
It's not because of your fingerprint expertise.
And then you're kind of being used just because you're eye candy. Everybody thinks that they would be very good as a profiler. Everybody's wrong. Most people don't have the depth of perception to like even manage their interpersonal relationships, much less hunt down a serial sexual sadist killer.
I think being confronted with it in real life is a lot more challenging than people think too.
Oh my God.
Oh, I could do that. I love horror movies.
People get desensitized. It's just like Donald Trump saying that he would have run into the Parkland shooting into the school without a gun when he's criticizing those deputies that didn't. It's just like, shut the fuck up. You would not. I'd be so scared.
You wouldn't even go to Vietnam with a gun.
No. I'd be so scared that I wouldn't be able to even function. I'm not even fucking kidding myself. If anyone manages to do anything useful during a situation like that, they are superhuman. Because I would be paralyzed with fear. Hiding would be a challenge to me.
Oh, I can be a profiler. Okay, but really think about somebody like Ed Kemper sitting across from you, telling you about cutting off his mom's head and putting his penis into her throat hole. Think about someone who really did that, really telling you about it.
And threw darts at it and ripped the vocal cords out and stuffed them in a garbage disposal.
You cannot deal with those people.
No.
Not in real life.
No. One thing I really do like about Dr. Lecter is how snobby he is about food. I think it influenced me a little bit as somebody who really likes food, really likes fancy food and trying different things. We've talked about organ meats before.
Yes.
Super into organ meats. I've never eaten brain. Have you?
No, and certainly not human brain like Hannibal Lecter.
Well, no. But people do eat, like, animal brains and stuff, so.
And he takes the sweetbreads out of people.
Yes.
I like that. Eats their glands.
Their pancreas.
That's another parallel to Ed Gein, I think, even though it's a less obvious one. Because, like, to me, Ed Gein viewed people as, like, animals with the making things out of the bones and tanning the skin. And Hannibal Lecter did in a culinary interpretation.
Mm-hmm. And
where he views people as livestock.
Buffalo Bill had weird artifacts, I believe, in his little basement dungeon. I can't remember the details, but I remember in the film he had like a big swastika quilt downstairs. What a fucking weirdo.
So what was he trying to turn into? He thinks he's a moth in a cocoon. What does Buffalo Bill want to be?
I love the moth imagery in it. I've long considered getting the Death's Head moth tattoo. So beautiful. The marketing for the film used that Death's Head image.
It was everywhere.
It's beautiful, iconic.
Back when there were video stores, when we were young, back in the day.
There were wonderful places. There's still a video store in Princeton.
A relic.
It's beautiful. I think they have a snack bar. It's very nice. In the book, it wasn't the Death's Head that they found in her throat.
No, it was something witch.
And did the Death's Head moth come into it later? It was maybe hatching down in the oubliette, because there's a whole little interstitial scene where it's just the moth by itself hatching out of the chrysalis. That's where it talks about like the wax cap and everything, I think, when it's newly hatched with its wet wings. That's a beautiful little scene. So that's something that you're missing out on if you haven't read the book. I think most of our listeners have some fondness for books. So if you haven't yet, check it out. Definitely
worth it. If you love the movie, gotta read the book.
And let us know what you thought about the book, especially if you're a new reader. Hop on our social media and comment one of our posts and let us know on Instagram or Twitter. how you feel about Silence of the Lambs or even Hannibal or Hannibal Rising or any of the other Thomas Harris books. This will be up before our first live show we've got coming up Thursday, April 26th at the V Club nightclub in Huntington, West Virginia. We're going to be opening up a night of fabulous entertainment. There's burlesque and sideshow and belly dance and us live podcasting and a bunch of great live music. And it's all going to a really great cause called In the Backlog, which works towards the backlog of untested rape kits. So if you are able to, if you're local, come down and check it out. And it'll be our first time on stage doing this live.
First time on stage.
And I'm going to be stone cold sober.
No, that's not true because it's liquor pitcher night down at the V Club.
Oh, good.
I'm going to have a liquor pitcher while performing.
Oh, yes.
Tonight's podcast was brought to you by Jägermeister and hot wine.
Hot wine. Cold. Now it's cold hot wine because it's been over an hour.
Cold hot wine because we can't shut up.
It was it the Chianti?
Yes, it was the Chianti, an imported vintage.
It's not subtle, but it's flavorful. Very nice.
We're not subtle,
No.
but we're flavorful.
All right, so we will see you next time on Indifferently Depraved Book Club. We have a fabulous selection coming up for you next time, which is
Zombie. Jeffrey Dahmer.
we're going to be reading Joyce Carol Oates' Zombie. So if you want to read it in advance so you're prepared, you've got a little bit of time. It's a brief enough book. You should be able to handle it.
It's time to kill. Got me, girl. She